I thought, don't drop the ball, don't run the wrong way, which I did.
Hoffman to midfield.
You know, it's bigger than football. It really just was a bigger cause.
He's got another gear. They are not going to catch him.
We looked at it like he scored a touchdown for child brain cancer research.
Jack Hoffman to the end zone. Husker touchdown.
That is outstanding.
Kevin Kugler joined by Andy Hoffman, Jack Hoffman, Rex Burkhead. It's hard to believe, guys, that we are 7 years past what I think most would argue is one of the best moments in college football in the last 2 decades. The chance to run for a touchdown during the 2013 spring game.
He'll get the handoff.
I am hit.
It is Hoffman running laterally.
He's got a puller.
To the 35. Hoffman to midfield. Hoffman, second level.
He's got another gear.
They are not going to catch him. Jack Hoffman to the end zone. Husker touchdown.
Just take us back a little bit to how this all started. And Jack, you, of course, were the central figure in this, getting the chance to run for a touchdown in the 2013 spring game. When did you first find out? Do you remember when your dad or somebody told you that this was going to be a thing?
I think it was the day of the game.
So you didn't know until game day that this was going to be a possibility?
No.
So what was your did you believe him?
I've had some unexpected stuff happen in my life, so yes, I did.
So, Andy, when did you first hear about the opportunity for Jack to get this to get the chance to run for a touchdown in a spring game?
Coach Jeff Jamrog called me around 9:40 p.m. on Friday night, the night before the spring game. We're sitting at home, and my cell phone rings. It was a number I didn't recognize, and I flashed the phone to my wife, and I said, "Should I get it? It's Lincoln. I'm not sure who it is." She says, "No." So I did what any husband would do. I answered it, and all of a sudden, this is Coach Jamrog, and then he explained what the idea was, and the rest is kind of history from there. So that was the first. And then we scrambled that night trying to put together a jersey for Jack or an outfit. The helmet was a prior Christmas present, and the pants. My brother was a walk-on for the Huskers in the early '90s, and so I had a pair of his old pants from his old practice pants, and so Jack actually wore those for the run, and so we just kind of a mixed bag outfit.
And, of course, the jersey was a Rex Burkhead jersey. And, of course, Rex, former Husker running back and current New England Patriot, is with us as well. Rex, walk us back to how you got involved with Team Jack and with Andy and Jack and everything they're doing in the first place. How did your involvement begin with now a group of people that's become a great group of friends for you?
Yeah, so Jack and I met, it was my junior year, life skills director at the University, Keith Zimmer. He asked if I would have lunch and with Jack and his family and give him a tour of the stadium. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so, we had a blast that day, kept in touch after that. And Coach Bellini was kind enough to invite him out to practice and then a couple games as well. And so that's when it kind of all began. And then with the help of, some great teammates and amazing fans, we started some low-key events to raise money for pediatric brain cancer on campus and just kept expanding it.
So, Jack, take us back to that. We're going to watch the play here in a little bit, and I'm going to have you help me out with everything that went on. But you found out that this was going to happen. And, of course, everybody knows at a Nebraska spring game, it's not as if this is a sparsely attended thing. There's tens of thousands of people in the stands.
Yeah.
This is a big stage. When you found out, what was your first thought?
I thought, oh, crud, am I going to do this? It was 90,000 people. I was freaked when I got on the field.
So what did they do to calm you down? We start and we see you with the helmet on, Tim Beck, Bo Pelini, Carl Pelini, all in the shot right there. And they're talking about what? Do you remember what's going on, or is your mind just swimming so much at this point that you have no idea what these guys are saying?
It was kind of both. Most of the stuff that was running through my mind was don't drop the ball, don't run the wrong way, which I did. Don't stop before the touchdown line, don't fumble. But I only did one of those, luckily. So,
All right, so Rex, give us a little idea of what you've been in plenty of these huddles as a player, and you're certainly in this huddle. What kind of things is Coach Beck? What kind of things are Coach Pelini's both talking about in this moment right here?
Yeah, I think they're explaining to the guys that they better throw some great lead blocks for Jack, or they may not see the field next season. So, a lot of communication going on to get Jack in the right spot. Taylor taking him by his side and making sure he gives him the handoff and points him in the right direction.
Now, Jack, I'm watching you walk out on this as we watch this. This is a walk with purpose. You are walking with you're like, I got to get out here. You're on this field. You look up. You can see your eyes look up for a moment there as you're coming out. And look at that crowd behind you and around you. Was there a moment where you're kind of going, gulp, what am I doing out here?
Yeah.
So what's young Jack Hoffman thinking about right here, where you're walking into the huddle and everybody's kind of pointing you in the right direction? Taylor's getting you all situated. What are you thinking about at this moment?
Don't fade it. Don't faint. It's just people. Because I wasn't a fan of being around a bunch of people at once, big crowds.
It's a great stance there.
Yeah, so you had the stance set. This is clearly, you were clearly ready to go. Even in your nervous times, you still are able to come up with the stance. You're set and ready to play.
Yeah.
Let's roll this play. Snap comes, and this is the moment where you were like, oh no, I went the wrong way, right?
Yep.
So all of a sudden, Taylor gets you situated, and you go back the other direction. Is this now where the athleticism takes over?
Yeah, that's where the ringing in my ears blocks out everything else. So nervous, trying not to fumble or trip.
So you're not fumbling. Now, I want to go back here just a second, because clearly there's an issue right here with the helmet. The helmet is not. There's only half of your eye. You got one eye right now in the middle of this run. You remember this moment?
It was a Halloween costume helmet. It was never meant to be for actual run.
I'm glad you didn't get hit then.
Yeah.
So you continue to run, and all of a sudden you got plenty of room. You crossed the goal line, and it may have been the loudest roar Memorial Stadium saw that entire season. Maybe there were others, but that's one of the loudest roars of the season. When you're on the field in that, did you remember that sound?
It was pretty loud. Like, even though there might not have been a bunch of people there as much as a regular Husker game, but it was still pretty darn loud.
Rex, as you're watching this and knowing Jack and everything he's going through at this moment in his life, what thoughts are going through your mind?
Yeah, it's just an unbelievable moment. You're just soaking it in. I could see myself walking on the sideline here, videoing it. I just graduated, so it's just very emotional, just knowing everything that he was battling, fighting, and going through, and just the whole coaching staff, the team, really rallied behind him in this moment.
Andy, as a dad, your son's battling so much, especially at this moment, and he gets the chance to do this. I can't even imagine as a father how you feel in this situation, in this moment 7 years ago. Can you describe the feelings you had?
It's really pretty hard to put into words. It was really, when it was happening, I think I was so caught up in all the dad things. At halftime, we watched the game the first half, and Bo's sweet. And at halftime, I went out because Jack hasn't played a lot of organized football up to this point in time, and I was worried about, he's never been on a football field before with this kind of thing, and my biggest concern was he'd stop too soon and wouldn't cross the goal line. And so I said, Jack's like, how will I know which line is the touchdown marker? And I said, just run until you hit the fence. So when you watch that run, he actually kind of runs full speed about 3/4 of the way into the end zone. So I was really concerned, just really, don't fumble, all the things that he's talking about. I was nervous that those would happen. But after the play started, and I was on the sideline, and he turns the corner upfield, and I was on the Husker sideline and the red sideline, and the bench started kind of following the play, and I didn't actually see him cross the goal line. I saw about the first 1/4 of the run, and then he turned it upfield, and then the players kind of blocked it. But I could tell that something really awesome was happening. I'll never forget that the crowd, the sound. And I talked to Taylor Martinez about this, and after the run, and he just was like, "That's even though the stadium wasn't full, it's one of the loudest I've ever heard." And that's the thing that really sticks out in my mind in that moment, is just how loud and gracious Husker fans were in that moment. But back to your question as a father, really just humbled and overwhelmed by everything, and can't thank Bo Pelini enough and Rex enough for really putting Jack in a position to be able to have that opportunity, and it was the opportunity of a lifetime for him, and I'm just very grateful.
As we watch the aftermath of this play, and Jack, you get picked up and carried around, and everybody's there to celebrate this moment. It's got to be a little bit surreal, doesn't it? I mean, when you look back on it now, is there anything that you think about now when you think of this play that maybe didn't strike you as a 7-year-old?
It was just overwhelming. All the players around me, the camera, it was a lot.
So then you leave this field, a standing ovation, this amazing moment, the opportunity to help raise awareness for what Team Jack is all about. Coach Pelini stops up. What did he say to you right there? What's he saying to you? Do you remember his words?
I think it was just something along the lines of, "Good job. I'm happy for you." I think Dad said he thought they were just going to put me at the 5-yard line and run down. Then it was either Jamrog or Bo. Said, "Heck, he can run 70 yards."
Were you tired?
No.
Well, I had mentioned to Coach Jamrog, I said, this isn't the first time he's ran on the stadium. A few years ago when he was meeting Rex, he's foot raced Rex on this field a couple times. He's gone the whole 100 yards. I said, I don't think you have to be 5 yards out. And so when they were asking Coach Jamrog, are we close enough? And Coach Jamrog just relayed what I had told him, which is, Andy says it doesn't matter how far out. Wasn't exactly what I didn't think it was going to be 69 yards. I thought it was going to be a little closer. But, credit to Bo. I mean, he did it, and, it was a good decision.
Rex, what struck you the most in that moment? The crowd, the run, as you're standing on the sidelines watching this, what's the thing you most remember from this moment 7 years ago?
Kind of like Taylor was saying, it was definitely one of the loudest times I'd ever heard the stadium. So just seeing everyone standing up, giving Jack an ovation, and then, of course, the team rallying behind him and picking him up in the end zone was pretty cool to see and pretty cool to watch. Just because, all those guys on that team and within those classes had been doing events to help raise awareness for pediatric brain cancer and still are today. So it was just really cool to see, and a special moment for Jack for sure.
Jack, were you at all prepared for what came after this play, the attention that came after this play?
Not really. I thought it was, I scored a touchdown. Okay. I didn't know I was going to get all the attention from all the news networks afterwards. Because after we were in the car, I had taken a friend and his dad to the game. He was looking online. He was like, "Holy crap, Jack's on there."
Well, and as we talk about some of the stuff that happened, this is from the ESPYs that year.
And the fans have decided that the ESPY goes to, sir?
It goes to Jack Hoffman.
In the stands for the ESPYs as the best moment in sports after that 2013 spring game. As you watch your young self walk up on stage with your dad and all these amazing sports figures applauding that moment, Do you remember much from this? Was this one of those standout moments for you?
I was actually more nervous during the ESPYs than the run.
Who'd you meet at the ESPYs? To me, that would be the coolest thing about going to something like the ESPYs is, I mean, you look at all these faces in the crowd. These are the who's who of sports and of sports broadcasting.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool people there. Like LeBron James walked by us, but there was just a lot of other famous people. Like that year, he won 3 ESPYs, I think.
So this is a more nervous Jack Hoffman than the one that ran for a touchdown just a few weeks prior in that year?
I'd say because only many Nebraskans watch the spring game, but many Americans watch the ESPYs.
I'd say that's the trophy looks heavy. Was it heavy?
It was 8 pounds.
So yeah, heavy enough for a 7-year-old, right? So what's the thing that you guys took most, Andy and Jack, from the post-run attention? How did it help Team Jack, Andy? How did it help raise awareness for everything you guys have been doing?
So the next day on Sunday, we went to church. After having watched this thing on SportsCenter all night, we went to church the next morning, and we came back from church, and there was all these calls on our answering machine. And before we started calling people back, my wife and I had a very good conversation. And, you know, we live in Atkinson, Nebraska, a town of 1,200 people. We don't need or want that kind of media attention. And what we decided at a very early stage is that we would avail ourselves to the national media, but that we would work very hard to make sure that we kept the attention and the focus on the Team Jack Foundation and the need to help fund pediatric brain cancer, which is the leading childhood cancer cause of death. We didn't want our son to just turn into the flavor of the week for the sake of media's sake and good entertainment. That there was something bigger at play here. And so we saw it as an opportunity to provide a platform for this disease. And so I always tell people when Jack scored a touchdown, he didn't score a touchdown for the red team. He didn't score a touchdown for the Huskers. We looked at it like he scored a touchdown for child brain cancer research because then we were able to then, I think, successfully use those media opportunities to really talk about this disease and tell people, hey, these kids are getting therapies that are 30 years old. Help them. Hey, the federal government doesn't care about these kids. They're not investing in research. Hey, big pharmacy's not investing in this stuff because there's not enough patient population to make it a good economical decision to invest in these kinds of research projects. And so we really tried to parlay each one of those media opportunities into talking about the disease, raising awareness, making it less about Jack, less about ourselves, and more about the disease because this is a bad disease and people need to know about it. People need to know that kids get brain tumors and die. It's that simple. And that message, I don't think, was out there to that point in time. But as I look back now, I do think there's been a ton of awareness here in Nebraska, and I think nationally it's getting out there. Thanks to, you guys, BTN's been a huge part of our awareness efforts, and we're very grateful for these opportunities and those awareness opportunities.
Well, and these opportunities led you all the way to the White House. And, Jack, you got to be in the Oval Office with President Obama. Yeah. Not a lot of opportunities for those of us in the normal walks of life to hang out in the Oval Office with any president. How was that meeting? What do you remember most from your time meeting the president in the Oval Office?
It was actually pretty sweet being there. When we got there, talked for a while, then he handed us a football with his autograph on it. And that's sitting by the SB above our fireplace.
That's very cool. I would imagine, Rex, that as you watched this unfold from afar, concentrating at this point on your own football career, did you ever envision that this was a moment when it was first brought up to you that could take Jack all the way to the White House?
I don't know. It was, I just knew it would be a special moment for Jack and Nebraska Nation. And, I thought what was really cool is I had buddies that I grew up with who would text me and be like, hey, that was, awesome what you guys did. And let me know if there's any way I can help. And so, even once I got drafted by the Bengals, I had teammates, throughout the league or on the Bengals and even other opponents reaching out to me saying like, hey, that's a great play and I'd love to help out. And so the awareness was spreading and just the recognition for Jack in that run was, all across the nation.
I have to ask this because I'm a parent, and I know Andy is a parent, and now you are as well. Your 16-month-old son is Jet. You and Danielle have your first child. Does it change the perspective of you now as a father from the perspective you had as a college student or even as a young NFL running back with what Jack has been going throughout the last decade or so?
Yeah, it does. It makes you want to fight even more. Just you imagine your own child, and your own family fighting like Jack and Andy have, and just really putting yourself in their shoes. And so it makes you want you to do whatever you can to really get back behind the cause and, do any more to the effort.
How does something like this, Rex, compare to scoring a touchdown in Kansas City to send the Patriots to the Super Bowl? I mean, how does a moment like this compare when you think back to some of the great moments you've enjoyed in your college and professional career?
Oh, it's definitely up there because it's bigger than football. It really just was a bigger cause than just a game. It's for awareness for pediatric brain cancer and, Jack and his situation. So, that's what's special about having this platform as a football player, being able to do things like that. And, credit to Coach Pelini and the staff for putting that together. It was pretty unbelievable.
Well, interesting thing, Jack, you look in Nebraska, a lot of people certainly have followed your career since this time, followed your life since this time. They've seen some of the stuff that's going on. But nationally, I'm not so sure people weren't surprised by this. You're playing your own football now. You're not wearing a helmet that's off kilter and too big and not meant for football. You're actually getting the chance to play yourself right now. How has the transition been? What do you enjoy most about now that you've grown to this point where you actually get to be on the football field?
Well, I was actually excited because up until then, the only type of football I'd ever played is two-hand touch or flag. And when you get angry at maybe a bad call in those, there's no way to let your rage out. But you can just go for blows and tackle football when you want.
Your rage, Jack? There's rage to get out on the football field?
I mean, if there's a bad call, you can let your anger out.
Rex, is this something he's picked up from you over the years?
Man, I don't know. I try to control it, but hey, Jack's a defensive guy, I know, so he likes to get those big hits and take them out.
So I have to ask you this because this is something that happened to you as a 7-year-old. And here we are 7 years later, still talking about a play from a spring game in 2013. You're probably the most famous spring game participant in the history of Nebraska football. Nobody talks about spring games after they're done except for this one. You ever get sick of it?
When I was younger, I got tired of the attention, but I can take it now. I'm not saying I love a bunch of attention, but it was almost too much when I was younger, but I can stand it now.
So give us a little bit of and I'll ask this of each of the current football players in this conversation, but we'll start with you, Jack. We're in the middle of a time where it's not as easy to stay in shape. Give me one tip, one pointer while I'm quarantined or while I'm in isolation that I can stay in good shape. How are you keeping in shape during this time?
I live in a small town with an okay yard, and I go outside every day that there's not snow on the ground, either jump on my trampoline or play with my sisters or my dog. So I'm not letting it ruin my life.
Rex, you're playing in the National Football League, so a trampoline and a dog probably is not quite what Coach Belichick and the staff have planned for you with the Patriots. What do you do in the quarantine to keep yourself in shape and get yourself ready for what we hope is a fall football season?
Yeah, no, I got some good garage gym workouts going, getting creative with all the equipment I have and mixing it up quite a bit.
Well, this has been a lot of fun to relive this moment. I mean, it is, and it is one of the best moments that we've seen in college football over the last decade. And Jack, you were the central figure in that. How often does it come up still to this day?
Well, After game day, everyone was like, "Hey, are you Jack?" on the street. So then there was a bunch of pictures, but otherwise it doesn't come up as often as it used to.
Well, and I sounds like you're not unhappy about it not coming up as often as it used to.
Well, ho hum if it comes up, ho hum if it doesn't.
Before we go, just a quick update, if you would, Andy and Jack, on how you're doing right now, Jack. That's the last thing we need to find out about in this. How's your current health? How's the battle continuing for you?
I'm doing okay. I only have to go to Boston every 3 months to get an MRI and appointments with doctors. Otherwise, I just have to take a bunch of pills every day. So a bunch of kids have it way worse than that. So I feel lucky.
Well, continue the good fight. It's so good to see all of you here, and we really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
It is Hoffman running laterally.
He's got a puller.
To the 35. Hoffman to midfield. Hoffman, second level.
He's got another gear.
They are not going to catch him. Jack Hoffman to the end zone. Husker touchdown.
Oh, there truly is no place like Nebraska.
For more information on Team Jack and how you can help in the fight against pediatric brain cancer, log on to teamjackfoundation.org.